Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the October workshop. We are NJTESOL-NJBE Passaic County chapter. I am one of the co-chairs. And this month for the October workshop, we have Katie Zinmeister again. She was with us in September with her presentation, How to Spice Up Back to School Night using Canva and Slides Mania. So if you missed that one, you can log on to our site and our YouTube page, and you can see the replay of that workshop. Today's workshop is titled Student Choice with Escape Room and Your Own Adventure Stories. So without further ado, here is Katie Zinmeister.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm so glad to have some of you here today. Today, I think this is a great resource for teachers to use because it's a Google-based free resource using Google Forms. So what we're going to do today is kind of plan an attack on how to develop a Google form so that your students can create. You can create for your students escape rooms and choose your own adventure things. And I was telling Zette before we started that it was really funny. I picked up my kids this afternoon and my daughter came like traipsing me, running out of school with a bunch of her stuff, and in her hands were was a choose your own adventure novel, which she's gonna graciously lend me very shortly if I can get it out of her hands. But also you can take things you have around the house, you can take novels or activities that you do with them and make them challenges, escape rooms, escape activity, like choice activities, as well as, the choose your own adventure where they hop around. So we're going to do a couple of things. I'm going to show you how to set this up on a Google form. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then allow you to kind of take a look at some things and see what would work best for you. I apologize. Oh, here's the book. See? Some of you might recognize that book. I recognize it from the library. She's in 5th grade. I apologize. I have allergies and I have phlegm in my throat, so I start to sound like I'm like 800 years old, but I swear I'm not. But she's going to go back and do her homework, and we're going to move forward. So thank you very much. Goodbye. Okay, so we're going to start off with just a little explanation. I don't know how many of you attended the September one, but my name is Katie Zinmeister. I'm the technology facilitator and trainer for the Clifton Public Schools. I've been in this position for 16 years, and every year is a different adventure. For a long time now, since COVID started, it was Google, so Google has been my wheelhouse for the last couple of years. But we're going back to a lot more of including different activities and things like that. And this was one of the classes that another instructor of mine that I work with did, and I've kind of made it my own. So that's my background. I was a classroom teacher before that in Passaic and in Clifton, and I taught middle school in 5th grade. I currently teach Girl Scouts and about 1,500 teachers. So they keep me quite busy. All right, so we're going to start today with Google Forms. I hope you have some familiarity with Google Forms. If you don't, you can find anything on Google by typing in escape rooms, and you'll find directions on how to create things in Google Forms. But we're going to not do a tour, but we're going to do a little bit of how to set things up so that it'll work, and what works and what doesn't work, because I've tried it all. I even tried more today, just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get started. So Google Forms, in a blank Google form, has so many options, sometimes it can be very overwhelming. And these could be as simple or as detailed as you want them to be. I think back to when I first started teaching, when I had one computer in my classroom. My students had no idea what to do on a computer, and cell phones were flip phones. So there were times when I taught them things like flow charts and things, graphic organizers to keep them organized. So if you're a pen and paper person, you can kind of plan out your adventure, or if you want to. You can go online and find a whole bunch of stuff. I found a great series for struggling readers, but also, I mean, I would say it's probably about a 4th or 5th grade level reading, but it's called the You Choose Fairy Tale series. It's an interactive fairy tale adventure. So I kind of pulled some stuff from that just to give you an example of how this works. But before we go into forms itself and do all the building, let me show you what it could look like. So this is the book, as I said, that I created with Goldilocks and the Three Bears by Eric Braun. And it looks a little bit different because I didn't select a theme or anything with Google Forms. I just kind of put stuff in there. But if we're going through as a student would look at it, they would make sure that they're logged into their account. And you'll see I'm logged into my school account. And then here's the book itself, the cover. Now you can either use a hard copy and have them put the answers or select certain things throughout the form itself, or if it's your own work, you can put it directly or give them a hard copy of something and put it directly in here. So this is the first introduction to the book, and you know, you can read it as you see, but basically you're going to take control of your fate and either be Goldilocks, the little bear, or some other characters in the book. So as you go down to the bottom of the form, the student will just click next. And this is a really great life skill as well. It's not just something for language arts. It could be for social studies. It could be for science. So this is chapter 1, and the directions are highlighted in blue. So you're going to choose the path to read, and then you'll make decisions based upon what you read. And after you finish one path, you can always go back and do more. I like the fact that you have to select things and then you can always have the option to go back. So this is chapter 1. And it talks about how you're walking in the woods and you poke your toe into a colorful patch of mushrooms. There's the picture. And then the next page says you wander through the woods, you come to a clearing, everything smells really good, and you have to make a decision on which path to take. You can either be an explorer of the last forest in the world that has been turned into one big city. You can be wee little bear that lives in the house, or a modern kid navigating your way with a smartphone. So these are actually the choices that are in this particular book. I just retyped them so it was easier. So once I hit next, what it does is it brings you to that particular area and you would have information here. But because I didn't want to put too much there, I wanted to make sure that I can always go back and pick something different by using that back button. But how do I get to all this? This stuff is awesome, but I don't know how to get there. Now, if I go to a different one, it would have more information. The easiest way to get into a Google form to edit it if it belongs to is the pencil. But we're going to go back to Google Forms. Well, actually, we can go this way and look at the form itself and how it's set up. So it's set up in a series of sections and links to those sections. So it's basically like taking a PowerPoint slide and linking it in all different places. However, in Google Forms, you can do it on one page and you don't have to go, oh, is it this slide or this slide or this slide? It's really right in front of you. So as you can see, I just entered and added information, and Google Forms has a variety of things you can insert. You can even insert videos. So if you're creating something that has a video component that you can pull from somewhere else, you can do that. You can add pictures, maps, that are images, cartoons that are images. There are so many things you can do. It's really it's really up to you and your creativity. But you'll see that in many cases, they're based on sections. So whatever their answer is, you can actually pick a section to go to. And I'm going to scroll down. I don't want to make anybody dizzy, but I want to get to the bottom so you can see what I mean. So at the bottom, you'll see this is where we decided the path we needed to take. It's down at the bottom. I set it up so when I created this question and I clicked on the question to do it, you can see if it answers this question, go to section 3. If it answers this question, go to section 4. And if it answers this question, go to section 5. Now this is all wonderful, but how do I do it? The easiest way to get started is to go into Google Forms. So I always like to be able to pay attention to what the presenter is doing, but to also do it myself. So that's why I'm going to talk you through it. And if you want to play around with it, then you can do it as well. Any Google form can be a choose your own adventure, or it can also be an escape room. So the skills that we're building here will also build for the escape room as well. So if you click on a blank form, you'll see there's no title, there's no information. It's just kind of blah and boring. The recommendation I've had from a bunch of different people is to delete the first question that pops up. It's really a personal decision. And, you know, when you're planning and working, it's really not you have to do it or you don't have to do it. But it gives you really a kind of a clean page to work on. You always want to give your forms a title. I don't know how many of you have gone into Google Forms periodically and then looked at the list and been like, wait a minute, where did it go? And the important thing is if you give it a title, so I'm just going to use this as an example. It's totally not one that you have to use, but if you had, oh, I don't know, some sort of pumpkin chooser. It's being very strange today. I'm so sorry. Apparently my Chromebook is going loopy. Okay, so we're gonna call this pumpkin choose your own adventure. And I'm just gonna get rid of the rest of this. Okay, now automatically it will save any changes just like a Google Doc or slide. And you can just click on here and it will populate your title within Google Forms itself. And then you can always save it to a folder or start if you need to. But pumpkins are not purple. They're orange, they're white, they're green. I want to change the background here. I don't want it to look like this because it's a very visual thing, especially for any kind of learner who is learning English or learning a different language, or even learning science and social studies. It's a very visual process for many of them. So you want to click on Customize Your Theme. On the right-hand side, you have a couple options. You can customize the color. So if you think a very ornate picture is going to be too distracting, you can choose your colors. Maybe you might want to choose orange or red. You can change the color, the style of your theme and question by a certain kind of font if you wanted to. I always like to choose images because a lot of times we're given the opportunity to be creative, and sometimes it's always nice to do that. The header themes in Google Forms are all here. They have some uploaded ones that you can participate and use. Everything from holidays to birthdays and food and travel. You can upload a folder directly from a Google Drive document, or just trying to see if I can find one super fast. And of course, it's not going to be easy, but you can pick any kind of picture you want. And you only have a certain amount, oh, it wouldn't let me use this one. Okay. You only have a certain amount of space, so don't pick a really big picture. Let me see if I can find one super fast. Where are you? All right, we'll use this one. So you can take this and you'll see that it will download the whole thing, or upload to Google your whole thing. However, if it's too big, it may ask you to pick a section of it. So this happens to be just a science picture, and then it will pull up theme colors, so you can pick your own theme color from the list down below. Now, you don't have to do this. You can decide, nope, I don't like any of the themes. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to take out the picture by clicking the X, and I'm going to go back to my fall colors and pick like a dark orange. So there you go. You can do that as well. One of the great things about the fact that you may have hard copies of this kind of activity that you want to include, you can hold on to the hard copies, let the students have the hard copies, and just put their answers here. And that way you can let them be as creative as you want when they're answering questions, or they can input them in here and keep track of them and keep them all nice and organized. So it's really a matter of choice as to what you want to put and set your colors up for each Google form. You will notice the theme for forms is purple. It's not going to change that, but it will change certain things. So how do I get this to look like if I click here, it goes here. If I click here, it goes there. The way to do that is by sections. So the first thing you want to do is you want to add a section that introduces your activity. So whatever it is. So you would click section, you would give it a name. So you would want to say, welcome, or welcome to our pumpkin adventure. You also might want to give a description of maybe what this section will do or what the directions are. And then you can either add a few things. You can add a question. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with Google Forms or are familiar with Google Forms, there are specific questions that you want to use when you do things like choose your own adventure or an escape room. The first one is the multiple choice. Multiple choice gives you the option to go to certain areas based upon an answer. So you want to either use multiple choice or some of the other ones. If we do check boxes, a lot of times it will not, sometimes it will. Okay, so drop down will allow you go to a section based on answers. It's really a matter of what you feel comfortable setting up. For the most part, a lot of people like multiple choice. This will also, so check boxes will not allow you to go to different sections. So not check boxes. So I would say multiple choice or drop down menus are your best scenario when dealing with choose your own adventure. When you're dealing with escape rooms, which we're going to talk about after I walk you through this a little bit, you want to do something that requires the student to input text. So short answers, paragraphs, those kinds of things. So for our pumpkin adventure, we're going to make this a multiple choice question. And I'm just going to type gibberish here just because I don't have anything to write, but if I did, I could do that. And then my options would be here. And I can add as many options as I want. There we go. All right. And once I do that, okay, I can leave it like this, create another section, and then another section, and then another section, and then begin to link them. So I'm going to leave our pumpkin adventure for a second and walk you through how that works, only because I have it already set up so you can see what it looks like. So if we go to our Goldilocks, back to Goldilocks, you'll see that the first section I have is a welcome with the picture cover of the book. And then I took a section from the book to give you information about the adventure. So I actually took this page, these 2 pages, and put them in here. And that's where the scenario comes up. So here's the story. This is what you are going to do. You're going to assume the role. You're going to take over the role of Goldilocks, or maybe Little Bear, or something else, and see what happens. for many people, that whole process and that whole idea of creating this is a little daunting. So which is why I refer to these kinds of books. You can do it with a picture book. If you're not familiar with Mo Williams' Don't Let Pigeon Drive the Bus, very great for oh, I can't think of the word today. It's a great book, but it talks about, it's kind of silly in the sense that Pigeon is always trying to get to do something or get something, and the response is, don't let Pigeon do it. And so he comes up with all different kinds of ways to convince you that he needs to do it. So you can take something like that, as simple as that, or as complex as something like Shakespeare. It's really a matter of being creative. In order to save time, I went the route of choosing my own adventure book, and I'm sure somebody in my house will read this soon enough. All right, so we set the sections very similarly to what we have on the other form. But how did I get these pictures in here? Where did I get the pictures from? So the pictures are from, I took them from somewhere else, saved them to my computer, and then when I wanted to insert them, I would hit Add Image, and I would upload them straight from my Google Drive. You can even upload them straight from Google itself. You can browse for things on Google or within your Google Drive, so you can hit, add more. So let me just see what I can grab here. All right. This one is just an image of a header for one of our Google Classrooms. And then you can give a little explanation about the image here. You can hyperlink things. You can duplicate it, delete it. And then if you want to add text as they hover over something, you can. The other option is to insert a video. Again, super easy. The same way you would insert it into other things, you can actually search it directly. So I'm going to call this Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And perhaps you need to do some front loading with your students, so they may not know Goldilocks and the Three Bears, or they may know it in a different format or a different type of story. So you can play a simple video for them before they even start this, because they may need more information if they're doing something. Normally, this kind of activity would be done with the information already understood by the students, so it would be something more of an assessment or a long-term project kind of thing. However, sometimes they don't have background information, so you can insert videos. You can also make the text and title description somewhere within if you needed to add something somewhere. If you have a series of questions, you can always import them from other places like Google Slides and Google Docs and Google Sheets. I always like to start from scratch, so I don't import a whole lot. But you can. And these details and nuances make the lesson what they are. I'm just going to delete a couple of these so that we don't get confused and we don't get lost. So next up, how do I link it? So once I put the question in, and I'm going to scroll down to my series of questions so that you know. So that's one of the pictures from the book. And we're going to scroll down, and we're going to go to that path to take. So which path are we going to take? We're going to take the Explorer path, we're going to take the Wee Little Bear path, or we're going to take the Modern Kid path. And the problem is, for the most part, that the question is fine unto itself. Like it'll, we can have it mark itself. But if you click on the question on the bottom,
We lost her audio. Can you hear her? Katie, we can't hear you.
if you want to If you want to include it for whatever reason, you don't want to have a submit form button. If you click submit form and they hit the answer, it will take them to the end of the activity. So you want to kind of leave submit form till the very end. You can add as many options as you want, and you can even add an other category. Now, I would suggest doing this once you've set your Google form in place. So, for example, you want to make sure that after every section, it either goes to submitting the form or wherever it's supposed to go next. So at the bottom, you also have the option to continue to the next section or any other section and submit the form. These kind of circular options are very important when you're doing these choose your own adventure things or escape rooms, as we will find out. But I just want to make sure that you realize or you understand that in today's submit the form, you have to have settings to go back to it. So that submit form is really important to wait until you are absolutely sure that at the end, that's what you want them to do, because it'll force them to go there. Funny story about this kind of stuff is the other day I ordered soup from our cafeteria, and they use Google Forms for the menu options, and someone didn't set it up correctly so that when I would submit what I wanted for Wednesday for lunch, it would go to Thursday. I'm like, no, I want lunch for today, not tomorrow. So this is really important when you're doing this kind of thing. If you're not sure how it's going to go, or you want to test it out before you get too crazy, in the upper right-hand corner on a Google form is a preview button. And that preview button will allow you to go in and look at the form as a student would look at it. And this is for any Google form, not just this one. It could be for a test. It could be for anything. So this is why you want to go and look at it and be like, okay, this works. All right, I hit next. I like that. That works. I get here, and it's, I scrolled to the bottom, and okay, what do I do now? All right, I hit this, and I go here, and oops, there's nothing here. I have to go back and add stuff. Or, oh, okay, that's where it went. I have to go back and fix that. You always want to make sure that you test out Google Forms. They're not foolproof. And for a lot of people, sometimes it just gets a little bit on the messy side. And the Zoom bar is right where I need it to move. So that's okay. We'll just go back to here. Okay. So a couple other tips and tricks when you're doing this. You want to make sure, if you're going to give the kids a chance to go back and maybe choose a different adventure this time, you can click on responses and then click on settings. I'm sorry. You can click on settings, and you want to go through and make sure that you have the option under form defaults. I think, no, where did it go? Responses, here it is. You want to make sure limit to one response is turned off, because if not, they're going to go in and they're going to try to get in the form again, and it's going to go, no, sorry, only once. And our district, as well as a lot of school districts, they restrict the users to certain forms just because they want to make sure that it's employees or students, not outside people. But you can turn that on and off. It's really up to you. But this limit to one response is the most important. Now, you can also send a copy of, excuse me for 1 second. No. You can also send a copy to your students so that they can see it by turning this on and off, or just when it's requested. If you are interested in collecting email addresses of who's responded, this will toggle on, but you don't have to. You can turn it off depending on what kind of form it is and what you're using it for. So that is how you would pick a choose your own adventure kind of a form to use. Now, you could also do this with Google Slides. I prefer Google Forms because it really seriously keeps everybody in one space, whereas Google Slides, you have to create multiple slides in multiple places, and then the linking can get a little bit overwhelming. This, create it all in one shot. Well, if you can do it in one shot, and then go back and see where you want to link it. It all stays on one page. It's just scrolling. A lot of times we get to websites where we're constantly clicking and clicking and clicking, and we get nowhere because we're constantly going in a circle. This is not based on the number of clicks for us to create it. It's really based on clicks for the students to create it and to the students to participate in it. So it's really what you get out of it. And if you're using a hard copy of a book and they turn to a page and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to decide I'm going to be the modern kid with the cell phone. What do I get to do? So it says here, to be a modern kid navigating your way with a smartphone, turn to page 77. And I physically have to do that. Whereas when I use a Google form, it's right there in front of me. So it's really a question of what works best for your students. And there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of both too. So as far as choose your own adventure wise goes, it's really up to you on your content, but the process remains the same. So if you're going to use the Google form, you want to make your section, you want to make it visual, make your sections, and then figure out how you're going to link them. If you're using a guide like a book like this, then you want to make sure that you follow where you're linking things to. If you're creating it yourself, put the whole thing in Google Forms first and then figure out where to link it. Make sure that you change that setting to allow multiple responses from a student. And if you're asking them questions that they have to fill out, you want to make sure that you choose the right type. So multiple choice really allows them to only have one answer. Check boxes, they can have multiple answers. Drop-down menus, they can have one answer. Short answer is a small amount of text, so think a math assignment where they're calculating an answer, or a vocabulary assignment where they're recognizing the word. Paragraph would be more like something that they would have to write. If you want to do a file upload, you can. I use it with the teachers to really give them the option to provide a document of some sort to me when they're doing PD challenges and things like that. But for a choose your own adventure novel, I don't know necessarily if I would use it. The linear scale, multiple choice grid, and checkbox grid are all great uses. I can't see a reason to use it with a choose your own adventure novel or your choose your own adventure activity, but there could be one out there that I don't, that I'm not thinking of. So I would play around with them. And dates and times you don't really need unless you are doing something specific with date and time. So before I move to, I'm just going to turn this off for a second. Before I move to our escape rooms, which are extremely popular right now, can I answer any questions about the Choose Your Own Adventure novels or anything like that before we move on? No?
We lost a little bit of your audio when you were explaining section 2 and the answering.
Oh,
Anybody have any questions on that part? It was section 2. You had a drop down box, and then we lost you for a few seconds.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I'm happy to go back and talk about those. I just need some guidance as to what I missed or what you missed. All right. Well, if everyone's okay, I'm happy to answer that question. So I'm going to go back to my desktop and talk about sections. So section 2, you want to make sure that you when you add a section that you also add information about that section. But the questions are what are the most important piece here. So we were talking to the discussion about questions. Is that right? Am I right?
Yes, it was right after the question, but right before you link it to the other section, we lost it somewhere in the middle.
Oh, no. Okay. So let me go back. Let me go to section 2 and let me scroll all the way down. So at the bottom, when you have a question, so multiple choice questions, drop down menus, you can navigate to a different space. Is that, am I in the right place?
Yes.
Okay. So when you navigate to a certain space, you want to make sure that you click on the question and then you click on these 3 dots. And the 3 dots, the second choice is to go to a section based on an answer. So that is the key to any kind of escape room, choose your own adventure, whatever you want to call it, is that it has some place to go. So you always want to make sure that this is checked off. And then when you see the drop-down menus, you get to select where to go. Did I lose anybody, or is everything okay?
No, that's exactly the spot that we missed before. So now we got it.
We're good. Oh, okay, great. So 3 dots. Make sure to select go to section based on answer, and then you get to pick your sections. My recommendation always is to lay everything out before you start pointing people in different directions, because what happens is you forget where to go. You're like, oh, where am I supposed to go? Oh, I have to create that. Oh, I have to put that. So do all the hard work first, and then have fun moving everybody in different directions. There is one thing that I didn't mention on a Google form that is really important no matter what you're doing with it. If you really need them to answer a question, you really should require it. So you'll see that this toggle is required. You can turn it off, but if you turn it off, then they're not going to answer it, and they're just going to sit there and stare at the screen. So you want to make sure that it's required. All right, did I answer that question?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, any other questions about choosing your own adventure?
Hi, I think I missed how you link the different sections based on the answer.
Oh, it's okay. I just went over it, but I'll go over it again. Okay, let me go back.
I mean, once you select the answer, on the side it says go to. I wasn't sure how you linked it.
I created the section first, so hold on. Let me get back to my screen so I can share it with you. I created everything first. So I created all the sections first. So if I scroll down on the screen, you'll see I created a bunch of sections. They don't have any information in them, but I just created the sections. You'll see them here. One says The Last Forest. One says Wee Little Bear. One says all the answers in the palm of your hand. Those are the sections I was talking about, that you should create everything first and then go back to the questions. Whatever questions you have, they have to select and move to. You click on these 3 dots and you click go to section based on answer. And then what it does is it opens up this menu. And of course now it's not going to cooperate because it's confused. All right. So that's what it does. It gives you a drop-down menu, and then you select where it's going to go. So if I've already created the sections, they should all be here, and I can go, oh, okay, we're going to go there. And, oh, okay, this is the Wee Little Bear. That's going to go to section 4. And, oh, okay, this is the title of it is To Be the Modern Kid is go to section 5. If you had more than that, you could add more. But that particular part is actually the most important piece of this whole thing. Is I could show you how to do so many things on Google Forms, but if you don't have them going to the right sections, you're going to have people all over the place very confused. And in some cases, we're all that way all the time anyway, but it just makes it more confusing when you don't know what section to go to. So thank you for asking that question. Does anybody else have any questions?
Katie, can you just click on where to build a section? Like I know you have it.
Oh, okay. So this section, so all the tools are right here, or embedded within the question or whatever you're working on. So the section tool is the one that has the 2 boxes, and it's all the way at the bottom on the right-hand side here. The one above it is the video, and the one above that is the image, but the section piece is right here, and what it does is it automatically creates a box for you. Let me scroll down so you can see it a little bit. And then you can type whatever you want in that section. And then give it a description if you need to. It's optional. It will not show up if there's nothing in the box. And you can actually hyperlink things as well. Bold, italicize, and underline. Put things in a bulleted list if you're doing a set of directions, like click on this first, then click on this, then read this. So you can put them into bulleted or numbered lists. And then you can remove the formatting if you're like, I don't want it to be bold. I don't want it to be, I just want it to be simple. You can remove all the formatting and like go back to just simple text. So those are the toolbars that are here, but the section bar is here. And these are, if you ever are confused or not sure of something, Google's really good at just, if you hover over it, you'll be able to tell you what it is. So that's where you find the section tool. And in any section, you can always add images, questions, and videos. So that's always helpful. And that's actually one of the newer features of Google pre-COVID, but like they updated things and they do that all the time. And then all of a sudden something looks different. But these are very helpful and useful no matter what you're doing in a Google form. I tend to like that kind of stuff. Any more questions about the Google Choose Your Own Adventures? No? Okay. Well, I only have 13 minutes to do escape rooms, but it's super easy. So one thing I would always recommend is if you're looking for something, look on Google first, because there's a lot that's free out there. There's a lot of stuff that's not free. There are a lot of teachers pay teachers documents, obviously escape rooms that you're gonna have to pay for. There's sites like Twinkle and things like that that have paid, they look like they're free and then they say, no, you gotta pay us a monthly subscription. So just be really careful. But if you already have some of this stuff, math lends itself very well to this kind of stuff, but I'm gonna share with you one of the things that I have. I took a bunch of different things and kind of combined them. So let me get to the right Google form so I'm not making anybody dizzy. I have a lot of them open here. Let me go here, and then I'm going to show you. So I went and I found 2 Google forms that were escape rooms. One of them was just a bunch of worksheets, and one of them had no information in it. So I kind of went and like, all right, how am I going to make this better? And what am I going to share with you today? So I decided to share them both. So at the top of the screen, you'll see this is an escape room. And what's different between an escape room and a Choose Your Own Adventure novel is there's something embedded within the escape room called, and I just want to go back to the right form and it's not letting me go. All right, there we go. All right, so this is the other one. This is the one that I've worked on, but it's part of the question itself. So escape room has something called a validation. So when you create your question, and this is why I mentioned the fact that the short answer questions are going to come up more within escape room, is it's called response validation, and it's in those 3 dots, similar to the rerouting as you answer a question. So if you click on one thing where it takes you, this one says the text must contain or only contains this word. And if it doesn't show up, what do you want it, if it's not the right one, what do you want it to say? If you don't put something here, you know what comes up, which irritated me to no degree today when I was testing things out? It gives them the answer. So I would say put something fun or interesting, or maybe try again, something that will not required to give them the answer, because that's what the least popular thing to do in an escape room is be the one to be the person who's running it and gives away the answer. It doesn't help the kids learn anything, and it doesn't help you get an understanding of what they know. So this was based upon a bunch of Halloween worksheets that I found it was all about codes and how to crack the codes, and it was a word search and a maze and a unscrambling puzzle and things like that. So there are 5 puzzles, and they would get them hard copy wise. And then what it will do is they have to break through those 5 puzzles to open 5 rooms and then get downstairs and run out of the haunted house. So in this case, this one was a crossword puzzle, and each section of the crossword puzzle had like a number, and those numbers had letters, and the letters were scrambled. And so then they had to put in the word that they found in the crossword puzzle that they unscrambled, and it contains the word treat. So we go through this whole process, and each one, number 1 has it required, and number 2,
I have more elastic. Where'd you put it? Where? You used it. Which one is this?
Sorry about that. So yes, so number 1 is required. Number 2, you want to make sure that the response validation is on and that you have the text on here. And number 3, you actually make sure that each section goes to the next section just in case. You wouldn't have to worry about this, except that I haven't found a way, but some way, shape, or form, someone is going to find a way to break this. Not break it, but not be able to use it and just go to the next one. And then you also want to make sure that at the end, you put in the final puzzle for them to put their answer. This works really well with math. With language arts, it kind of gets a little bit more difficult. With science and social studies, it works a little bit better. But as I said, language arts tends to be a little bit more difficult only because you're doing things that may or may not require your assistance. So it's not an independent activity for sure for some students, but for others it is. So how does this work? How do I get this to work? What do I do? So the first thing is I'm going to show you what it looks like. Now that we know, I know what the answers are, so it's going to be a little bit easier. But here are the directions. It says, "Dear guest, welcome to my haunted house. There are many spooky and scary creatures everywhere. Where did you go? Oh, you're there. You're way up in the attic. Beware, it's scary up there. Do you want to escape? Solve my 5 puzzles to open 5 rooms to get downstairs. Run. Better to be safe than sorry. Dr. Frankenstein." So they click next. And here is the puzzle. They get the worksheet. They do the crossword puzzle. They find the word, and then they scroll to the bottom. And I'm going to clear the form so that I'm not. Okay, let me just go back here. All right. We know that the answer is treat. Now, for a lot of them, they would either have to type it exactly as it appears, or you're going to have it either be all caps or all lowercase. It doesn't really matter, but you have to make that decision because the computer thinks it's either right or wrong. There's no human element here except for you, so you may have to tell them use all capital letters, use all lowercase letters. Click the word next, and we unlock the second puzzle. So here's the second puzzle. They have to decode the words. The words are all scrambled, and what color certain symbols are. And then to unlock the second door, they have to type, I think it's the word or. But if not, oh, see, I didn't make the change. And what did we get? The answer. So this is why you want to make sure that the answer is not high, you don't see the answer. So they get the next puzzle. I think the next one is or. Okay, here's the next puzzle. I think this one's Halloween. And then the fifth door, I think this is trick. And so this is the process. Now, it's not going to be this fast because obviously they're not going to have, uh-oh, the door is still locked. So it's probably the fact that I didn't have all capital letters or I forgot the question mark. Well, let me see. Nope. So that's a really important piece, is to make sure that your letters are either fully lowercase. And when you're doing language arts, sometimes that's hard because you're trying to teach capitalization and you're like, are they going to remember to capitalize the holiday? Are they going to remember to capitalize the first letter of a sentence? Do I make it all caps? Those kinds of professional questions are very important, but it depends upon what they're working on. If they're working on, you know, math, it's not really a question that you need to worry about. Whereas if they're working on language arts, you might want to. So let me see if there's any other things that you need to know about this kind of activity that's different from the choose your own adventure. First one, definitely make sure that if they're doing some sort of response and you want their responses that are not just, you know, their email address, which for our teachers is a number. So for many cases, they were putting emails in and there was no place to put their name. So I would recommend, if you want to add a place for them to put their name. So you can do that in the first section before they even get to any of the puzzles by clicking this add question button, the circle and the plus sign. And then you can, you know, move it around if you want, but you don't. And then you can just say, okay, I want to have a name here. So if I go to short answer, I want to make sure I put name. I'd recommend full name. It's good practice for them, but for many of them, you'll end up with, you know, four kids with similar names, and you're like, well, who does this belong to, or who does this belong to? Or like my always favorite thing to do when they didn't write names was to hang them up on a, you know, on a wire, on a clothesline, and have them find their papers when they forgot to put their name. So this one alleviates that and forces them before they even start to put their name. You don't have to put it there. If your school district uses their names, then their email addresses would be a little bit more identifying. We use numbers. So for a lot of times for teachers, they might know all their numbers, but they may not. And so it's just easier to have a column anywhere on a form with the name. And always make things required. And obviously after section 1, they can go to the next section. Now you'll see for many of these, they don't have the option to go to a different section until it unlocks. And that's because you want to make sure that that response validation is checked off. So they're not just going here and then going there and then going here and skipping one because they got it wrong, but it unlocked for them anyway. So if you think about it like a series of nested boxes, so they're going to unlock the first box and they open the box and there's another box, and then they unlock that box and they open it up and there's another box. That's what this is. But they can't get to the next question or the next material until they get the answer to the first one. So that's why it lends itself so much better to math, but you can use it for anything. If you're studying a story, and my daughter read a whole book about a kid who gets a birthday present from a deceased family member, and the whole, it was a puzzle box, and the the young man had to go out and find the keys that he could open the puzzle box correctly, which was pretty cool. So this is a similar idea. It's a series of boxes and puzzles, and even though they're not really physically unlocking the box, they're working together or they're working by themselves to figure out a challenge. Yesterday, I met with my group of 5th and 6th grade Girl Scouts, and we were talking about thinking out of the box. This is kind of that idea. You're not giving them a traditional worksheet to use. You might have a traditional worksheet as a piece to this, but this is a series of activities for them to do. And so Google Forms makes it really easy because you can put everything right here. So that's the difference, and that's how you would create an escape room. Before we go, one more thing I just want to share with you, because I know our time is limited. If you wanted to look at responses, you can look at them in a Google Sheet format, or you can look at them here. It's really up to you. It's not a requirement to have certain things turned on or turned off. So I just want to answer any more questions anybody has. I'm so sorry that I ran longer than I expected, but I hope it was informative, and I hope you can go out and get those creative juices flowing, because I think that's the most important when it comes to really making the most of these activities for your kids, because that's technically what we're all here for. And I hate to say it, it sounds like I read an article the other day because it's called Toxic Positivity. We're all in it for the kids. But we're in it. We became teachers to help students learn, not necessarily to, let all of our creativity sparkle and shine all the time. So, but it helps. When you use creativity and you draw things out of kids, it really, really does help. Oh, I'm so excited. But if anyone needs any help, please don't hesitate to ask. I think many of you were here in September, but my email address is my first name, with my first initial, which is a K, and my last name, which is Zins, Z-I-N-S, M-E-I-S-T-E-R. It looks like Zins Me Ister at Clifton Schools. Not Clinton, Clifton, schools.net. And I know some of you have already started following me on Instagram and Facebook and everything else, but I'm so honored to have been able to do this for two times in a row. It's kind of a fun thing. Oh, and thank you, Gazette. I appreciate it. And if anyone has any more questions, just let me know.
Is there a specific age group or grade level that this works best for, like middle school or?
I think for the most part, it depends on your kids. I wouldn't do this with like K1 and 2. I think 3rd grade could probably handle it. My daughter, who's in 5th grade, just did a science one. It wasn't a digital one. It was actually a hands-on activity. I think if they're
We lost your audio again. I think Katie froze. Oh, you're back. You're back. We lost you for a few seconds again.
Oh, I hate Zoom. It does not like me. So I would say I would leave K to 2, not like teaching them those team building skills in order to do this. 3rd grade and up would be a good option. Definitely middle school. That they're challenging enough as it is. So anytime you can get them to do something fun like this is always a good thing.
Yes, definitely. It'll grab their attention. It'll be exciting. I agree.
Absolutely. I got pictures of what it looked like, so I wish I could put them, but they're on Class Dojo on my phone. But the teacher actually had them running around the room, fixing, opening boxes and locks and things. It was pretty. But you can take that and make it digital, or you can do the hands-on one. I mean, why not? Or we all should be back in person, so right?
Yes, yes. Definitely. Does anyone else have any questions for Katie? No, Brian says thank you, and Anya. So thank you to all who came and participated in our October workshop, our October session. I think we have one more with you, Katie. Is that right?
I think so, but I don't remember off the top of my head. My brain's a little mush today. I tried, but
I'm not sure either, but we'll definitely let everyone know through the hot list, through our Passaic County Instagram page. We even have a YouTube channel where these videos come up.
wonderful.
Yes, we want to thank Katie again for sharing all her knowledge and all her exciting technology ideas and her creativity. And we hope that, you learn something and you can take it with you. And I know some people already mentioned it in the chat that they're excited to go home and try it, or to
I
start
can't
working.
wait. I would love to hear what you've been working on and what works and what doesn't work.
Awesome. And we left Katie's email right there.
Yeah. It's just there's no period in it. It's one whole word
Oh,
together.
no period. Okay, perfect.
That's okay.
Fix it.
And yeah. And just that S is the tricky one. And this is my middle schooler. She's my 7th grader. She's the one I attempt to share all information with. But yes, it's one word and it's Zin. It looks like Zinsmeister. So
Zinsmeister.
thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
I know it's one of those. I did not grow up with it, so my girls have learned it, but it's a challenge. All right. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. I'm happy to help. If you don't hear from me, Maria Ponte has been did work down the hallway from me, but now she's at the high school, so I don't see her as often. But she can get in touch with me if you're trying to reach me and you haven't heard back.
Sorry, I have one more question. I'm filling out the form for the certificate.
Mhm.
And on the question where it says chapter name, do we put the Passaic County?
Yes, Passaic County chapter. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and I just want to wish everybody a good afternoon, a good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.